This N690 BO steel is soft. Just a note for anyone who wants to use it. Boker decided to mess with N690 CO, which is not the same as N690 BO, because if you ask Boker, okay, that thing won't come out unless I take out the pot clip. So let me open up. But basically, they messed with it. They changed its composition a little bit, and it's like VG10. You know, it gets an edge, but I don't say, you know, you can get a razor edge with anything. I would say, but to me, this edge is kind of like, it just doesn't catch very well. I mean, heck, you can run your finger along the edge and it doesn't even slice you. It just kind of, it's good for slicing food. Okay, so me and Mel call this our little, I don't know how much this was, like $200 cheese slicer. This, again, you know, Anza's designs are cool because they have this sort of like, you know, wild look to them, you know, real primal. Again, there's something out there that's better. When I get it, I'll do a review and show you. But regardless, here's the next flaw. See those washers? Teflon. Now, Teflon washers, there's a little story that goes behind them. And basically, before Teflon used to own the rights to it, and then they lost the rights, so now everyone started making Teflon washers. And there's Teflon washers all over, different qualities. Some can be cheap, some can be better. Hinders, his are Teflon. He says he uses, I forgot, I think virgin Teflon washers, and they're supposed to be really good quality. And I think so. This one, not so much. These are thin. These are like contacts. Look at this. Can you see how thin this is? These have already become damaged from just being in here. This one over here, if I can get it out, it's look at that. It's like, who cares, right? You can actually see the hole is no longer a circle. It's not a perfect circle anymore. I don't know if you guys can see that. Regardless, not the best. I mean, why he did that, I cannot say. You know, you're gonna have to, if you get this knife and you know use a lot. You know, that's the thing to consider. You know, perhaps you want to like heck, you don't even need the washer to screw it. You know what I mean? You're not going to be flicking this thing open. You're not looking for some massive speed anyway. You just, you know. But regardless, this is how the inside of the knife looks. You know, this bar when putting together, like I said, it's kind of a little difficult because you have to kind of bend it back and then screw it on. It's a little challenging, but you can see, very simple. That's just how it is. It's just this little bend. So all that force is on that back screw. You know, see, when I push this, that part moves. See, look, if you can see. Let's see, wait. See? So there's a lot of force on that little screw. And that's probably why these dang screws are so strong. I mean, so good quality. These Boker little screws in this thing, the German one. German Boker screws. But regardless, simple construction. Really simple. And that's a really good design. You see that pivot? That's what I was talking about. That shouldered pivot so it doesn't move around and mess up the machining on this. To make this whole, you know, have more blade play, move, you know, eventually wear out. But like I said, I mean, you saw the flaws, kind of goofy, you know. And now since I'm already doing it, let's get to the Dragonfly, huh? Dragonfly. What's the problem with the Dragonfly? Not so much if you have the ZDP version, because it's simplified. There's just the lock bar inside, just this lock bar. The little goofy piece of metal that's supposed to be its spring. If you ever see it, it's kind of scary. You know, that's all it's holding the knife closed. And then the blade and some screws. Can you take this one apart? They say it's screw construction. You can. Can you really? Not unless you can figure out some way to get these dang this little soft sides that they're rounded off like that to not move because they're not shouldered. So every time you unscrew, they just keep spinning around. It's really goofy. But that's not the flaw so much of that. The flaw of the Dragonfly is, okay, first, if you own the G10 one, G10 Dragonfly and you ever want to maintain it, oh my god. I swore to myself I would never take this thing apart again because of how difficult it is. Because you can see there's a whole detailed complex process because you see how that sticks all of a sudden? That has to stay in there while you screw it down, screw down the pivot. I mean, everything is just, it is challenging. I hate it. Thankfully, I think I don't have to do this. There's a lot of stainless steel liners in here. It's all stainless steel, so you know you definitely got to take it apart at some point if you want to, you know, keep it from building up any weird rust issues. Now, the main thing, again, are the cheap part about the Dragonfly. It's these washers, and it's designed about how they connect. And this is really important to note. This washer on the right is fine. Can the camera focus? Whatever, that one's fine, okay? This one is not. Let's see if you can see this, huh? Let me get some kind of flat background. Do you notice how weird it is? Let's see. The reason is why it's weird is because a part of that inside circle had torn, like literally like It looked like it was, you know, scraped, like it was peeling around off, like it had been cut. Because the Dragonfly, its pivot, whichever one of the pivots it is, and where the washer sits, and then where the blade shape ends, you can see actually it looks like this. See that? So you can see actually, look, see that little exposed parts? You know, they got a little bit on this side, that's no big deal, but you see that edge, that goofy little lock edge, you know, where then the washer sticks on the other side. You know, when you put this thing together and you tighten it down, depending again how tight you make it, and these are thin little washers, as you open and close it, if you don't want blade play, I don't know, it depends on your preference. Again, if you open Dragonfly, keep it loose, but a loose lockup could mean, you know, failure and the lock could unlock. So it's kind of like a goofy design, you know, problematic, shitty. The spring on this one is stronger than the spring on the ZDP version, but regardless, the ZDP version is not so bad. But this is why I was saying that Subcom was such a good thing. Why I got the Subcom after this was because little tiny knife, try to get your whole hand to fit on it. You know, you can't really do it, so maybe you know, you get that much on it. And some people, bigger hands, only that much on it. But the point is, why? If it's a small knife, you're not going to be able to, you know, it takes, I would say, practice. It takes speed, to, you know, time to get your hand into the position on a small little knife. You know, if you're talking tactical self-defense use, this little Subcom, bam, you know, quickly, you know, there's no, you know, it's just one big finger choil, and the rest you just hold, and it sits in your palm, and you can fight with it. Now this, you know, like I said, you know, you can wave it, you know, but don't suggest that, because you wave it and then you want to defend yourself with that. That'd be great for males. You can, you know, I always tell her, you know, hey, shank first, ask questions later, because, you know, they're not going to die. I mean, you know, when they're injured, you know they're going to hurt you, and you can ask them what happened, what they want. But regardless, you know, she you know, could use this, but then when you wave it, it's so hard to grab a hold of it. So, you know, it's like to quickly grab your hand and guarantee you don't accidentally grab it incorrectly so your hand doesn't slide is a little too dangerous. This thing, of course, has no tactical use. And so then we go to that UK pen knife. Now, I'm not going to do a review on this. I've decided I'm going to sell this knife because it is pretty cool. It's got really great feel to it. I mean, it's great. And like I said, after Half Moon and Mr. Smallish, I can't pronounce his YouTube video. He's one of those European, I don't know, German, Frenchy guys like Mr. Dagon. You know, they all love this knife. And you know what? I do too. Slip joints are just fun. If you've ever owned a slip joint or not, and you think, heck, you know, what do you need a slip joint for? You have folding knives. You know what? You might want to consider a slip joint. If you ever travel a lot, it helps. You know, too. It's just really, really fun to play with. This one does the Anzo lockback idea method much better. Again, stronger. And you look at these good, solid screws. But note, whoever has this knife, one, of course, don't consider it for tactical use, especially since this, you know, most Spydercos, like on my Sage, you know, when they unlock, they don't cut your finger. And that's one of my main things I expect out of any knife that you would consider tactical, is it should, if it disengages, not cut your finger. You know, even the military, you know, if your finger's down here, it won't. Of course, knives like a flipper, like a hinder or something, you know, problem solved. But even on this little Boker Nepal, you know, if it does unlock, you see it hits a sort of bulk at least. And then they make that little nick, which sometimes I think that nick isn't for the stop pin. I think that nick is there in case of that happening. And plus I heard like you can strip wires or something like that with that. But regardless, this knife, if you ever use it, make sure you always use it this way. And if you ever do, then, you know, decide on your own to add serrations, since heck, you know, serrations are good in modern settings, you know, synthetic fabrics and, you know, who knows what would work. You know, serrations would obviously, at the saw, when you cut, it would, you know, it's stick into the wood and then it could unlock. So remember, if you use this knife, hold it this way. And that's all I have to say about this one. Just like it. But you see these options, small knives, I've been dabbling in them, you know, they've always been interesting as like a second carry, a backup to your knife, but there are some better options. I'm going to show you the better version of this, and I'm going to show you the better version of this, and until then I suggest this, or this. Oh yeah, and if you're going to get the Dragonfly, get the FRN handle version, much less problems. You can't take it apart, but who cares, I mean, it's just a little knife.